views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And welcome to our special Vote 2017 edition of In the District. Coming up, we've got candidates from City Council District 18, including neighborhoods of Soundview, Castle Hill, Parkchester, Classons Point, and Hardin Park. Now, Councilmember Annabelle Palma is term limited, so there is no incumbent in this race, but we've invited all the candidates on the ballot for the Democratic Party to participate in this program. And I'm Darren Jaime. We're introducing you to the candidates running for City Council District 18 on In the District. And welcome back. Joining us now is candidate for the 18th District, Michael Belzer. We welcome him now to the show. Good to have you on In the District.
Thank you for having me.
Good. So as you're another candidate as well, and talk to us about why it's important for you to run for this district seat.
Well, my name's Michael Belzer, and the reason I'm running is because I'm committed, I'm capable, and I care. So I've been someone who's been serving the district for quite some time in a volunteer capacity. So whether it be on my local community board, whether it be as a friend of Soundview Park or a member of my 43rd Police Precinct Council or just hosting events throughout the community, people have always told me, hey, you got a lot of passion, you really seem to care, you got a lot of knowledge and ability, why don't you do more with all of that? So, you know, this is an open seat, so I figured why not? And with the New York City Campaign Matching Fund program, it really enables a grassroots candidate like myself to really go out there and bring the message to the voters. So that's what we're doing.
What's the message you want to send to voters?
The message I want to send to voters is that they matter. That you know, that you don't have to just wait on elected officials or the powers that be to make change in your community. I'm running to serve as a city council member, but I'm not running to serve as a mini mayor or a mini dictator, you know, just imposing my will. I often tell residents that if I can't just go and do it by myself. If I'm not listening to you, if you're not joining me, we're not going to be able to change as much as we can. So I really want to empower people civically and politically.
So when we look at the 18th District, a lot of things are going on in the area. What do you highlight as some of the big issues that really need to be dealt with?
So the number one concern in the district is public safety. You know, so we need better collaboration with the police and also for residents to feel empowered to work with them. But transportation, we're seeing it around the city. We're in a crisis, and District 18 is no different. We have large populations that live in transit deserts. They live in two fare zones. So often, you know, even myself, it used to sometimes take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to get downtown because you're waiting on buses that don't always come. They're overcrowded because they're either not big enough or they're bunched up. And, you know, they're just not working the way that they should in a world-class city like New York City. And then education, you know, I'm a public school parent, a proud public school parent of a 7-year-old daughter, and she's in a school that her playground is sinking, she's drinking out of lead pipes, she's getting services in the hallway, and she's not even getting real physical education. So these are things that are important to me and to people in the district.
Now, we've interviewed some other candidates, and Senator Diaz is a strong supporter of charter schools. How do you feel about that?
So I, like I said, I'm a proud public school parent. I'm not necessarily against charter schools as a model, but they do not need to be taking our public resources away from students in the district. So if charter schools want to be good actors, they want to be fiscally transparent and accountable, they can do that. But they should also be finding their own spaces to do it. You know, I worked in the New York City Comptroller's office for almost 5 years, raising over $100 billion for our parks, bridges, roads, and schools. Now, so taxpayers built those buildings. So if we're going to be putting people into those buildings, they need to serve the public good. And right now, charter schools are not a good actor in that regard, so they should be finding their own space. If they want to build their own buildings, they want to be in their own schools, that's perfectly fine.
How do you attack the homeless crisis to jail? You have 18 homeless shelters right there, family shelters right in your area. How do you attack the homeless crisis?
So, you know, there's a many-layer approach that needs to go into that. Right now, what we're really facing is the fair share criteria. Is that being applied to places like the Bronx? You know, Community District 9, like you said, has a bunch of shelters already. We're already doing our burden. But you look at other community districts throughout the Bronx and throughout the city, they don't even have one. So this conversation, let's add 90 new shelters. It needs to be really vetted by the communities that they're trying to place these shelters in. And we actually had an example in Community District 18. Is we had a 200-bed men's shelter that was supposed to come in. The community said no. So I worked on the task force to help move forward a new plan. So a new plan will include supportive housing with affordable housing, because people who are undomiciled, they need a home. They don't just need a shelter. And a shelter, there's a lot of people who won't even go into a shelter because of the way that shelters are run. So this shelter is the panacea to solving homelessness. I just don't agree with it.
So when we look at the district, let's talk a little bit about development, community development. You see a lot of development that's going on. Some people are saying too much development is going on. How do you view the development situation?
So this is New York City. New York City is always changing, and you know, in a place that doesn't have much land, that means we're adding more density when we're redeveloping. Now, development is not necessarily bad. If the development works for the community, I support it. So if we're doing community-based planning, if we're planning sustainably, meaning that we're upping the standards of energy efficiency and you know, how the materials that we're using, so we're zero emission in our development, then that's something I can get behind. So when I was on the local community board, I worked to initiate a community-based planning effort where we held visiting sessions. I facilitated visiting sessions throughout the district where we heard from almost 1,000 residents on their goals and dreams and what they want to see fix and stay in the community. Now, as the next council member, I intend to pass a 197A plan that comprehensively plans our community, because our district has almost 200,000 residents. So if it was a city in Connecticut, it'd be bigger than every single one, like Waterbury, Danbury, all the Stamford. These are cities. You go there, it's a city. We're not treated that way. So any development, it has to work for the community first, not the developers and the landlord's pocket.
For people who don't know who Michael Belzer is, once again, just let us know.
Michael Belzer is a proud public school parent of a 7-year-old daughter, and I'm someone who's faced a lot of the issues that people in the community face from a very young age. You know, someone who grew up in the cycle of abuse, whether it be from drugs, whether it be sexual abuse, whether it be domestic violence. I faced those all at a young age, and through that, I really learned that the individual can go and make difference in their life by going and reaching out to networks, whether it be a community network, whether it be a faith-based network, whether it be you know, getting higher education. I mean, I also share with some of the youth in the community. I didn't think I was going to go to college, but working with guidance counselors, working with mentors, they really showed me, hey, you can go ahead and do this. So, you know, I've been blessed to be able to have a public education. I went to SUNY Stony Brook and CUNY Baruch to get my MBA in finance and investments. And through that, coupled with volunteer public service, you know, I don't see how people can run for office without doing that first. You know, that really gives me a robust set of experiences and knowledge to really tackle this job.
And last question before we leave, with a crowded field, how optimistic are you about your chances?
We're very optimistic. You know, we ran for office last year. We've been doing a lot of work in the community. So we have name recognition as well. You know, and a lot of people have been really giving a lot of great feedback. Even yesterday, people like, I see what you're doing. I see you all the time. You know, keep going. So whether win, lose, or draw, this election isn't just about me. A lot of people that are running for office, they make it about them. I'm this kind of candidate. I represent that. No, I want to represent the community first, and that's just not I'm the city council person. I'm someone that shows up for you. I'm someone that listens to you. So our chances are pretty high because people have been unanimously saying that's what you've been doing. You've been saying what you wanted to do, and you've been showing up and doing it.
Michael Belzer, thank you so much for coming to join us.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here in the district. All right. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us. Coming right back.
Coming to you from our BronxNet studios, 4 new shows highlighting some of the best of the Bronx has to offer. We sit down with political leaders on In the District and discuss local legislation, events, and issues. See how the community and business come together with The Bronx Now on BronxNet. Nosotros features leaders from a Latino community. Meet those who are moving to make a difference in public service, business, arts, and culture. Looking for new and exciting dining experiences? Then you'll want to savor the Bronx and try new restaurants and eateries that fill the borough with delicious dishes. We have it all, so experience the Bronx in new and fresh ways on BronxNet.
And joining us now is the candidate for the 18th District State, Senator Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. We welcome him now to the show, and good to have you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for having me, Darren.
Good to have you in the district. Now listen, you held this seat in 2003.
Yes, sir.
You gave it up.
2001.
And he left there,
Yes.
went to the state senate.
Yes.
Now you're talking about coming back. Why?
You know, many reasons, many reasons. Let me tell you that one of the reasons is that in Albany, we have approved, together with the Bronx Borough President, who happens to be my son, and with the elected official, we have worked an agenda for the Bronx and for the district. I know that when we do something in Albany and then it comes to the city, everything gets messed up. So I want to be sure, one of the reasons, I want to be sure that what we have approved for the Bronx, for the district in the future, for example, for North Central train station. That's been approved by us, money being assigned by us in the district. Soundview, Parkchester, we go. So, another one. The redevelopment of the Sheridan Expressway. We just got the governor to approve $1.8 billion. So the borough president and together with the borough president of the elected, we have achieved that Hollywood is coming to open a Hollywood studio in Colgate and Bruckner Boulevard. We have been this has been approved. Here, even though it's not in my district, with the Cambridge Armory. So we have done things
that you really just want to see have.
I don't know. No. I know what's going to happen with this. It's jobs, work for the Bronx, and there are so many things, so many projects that we have approved in Albany, working hard for the Bronx, for the district. Well,
let me get this. Let me ask this question because we only have a few minutes. But let me ask you this question: what do you find to be the biggest issue that you're dealing with right now in the district that you can answer as a city councilman?
The biggest, there's no bigger, there's no small. The problems, because all depends who's facing the problem. What happened to be big for you, it might be small for the other person. So we have housing. Housing is a problem. Gangs. We have the charter school, because charter school, I am a provider. I am a sponsor. I am a fighter for charter school.
Why?
Because charter school is something that I believe is a godsend for Black and Hispanic children in our community. Charter schools are only established in Black and Hispanic community. Charter schools are not done for white people. Charter schools are not done for rich people. Charter school was created in response to the neglect, to the left behind that our children used to be. Charter school is working. Right now we have about 60,000 parents in the waiting list waiting for their children to get the opportunity for a good education to improve their life. I will continue fighting for public school. We got to continue fighting for public charter school. We cannot do away with charter school.
Let me ask this question about homelessness. It's a big issue. District 18 has 18 family shelters, homeless shelters right now in your area. How do we get rid and how do you deal with the homelessness crisis and the development that's going on?
Well, we had to, the mayor is saying that he want to create many thousand of new housing. In my district, in the district that I represent, the 32nd Senatorial District, has been the district where more housing has been created. You got Senator Diaz Plaza, Reverend Diaz Plaza. You have Reverend Diaz apartment. You have Reverend Diaz Village. I have worked together with the board of president, with the director, to create housing for low-income people in my district. Has been the district in the Bronx where more housing, every single train station. Intervale, Prosper, Parkchester, Castle Hill, Siriga, all those train stations have been recreated. All the streets have been paved, the sidewalks. I mean, you got to see the district.
So you feel like because of that, you can come back to the city council and be able to be effective?
Not only that, in 15 years, Daron, in 15 years that I have been in the Senate, 16 of my piece of legislation have become law. There's a record. There is no other elected official that could come here to you and tell you. In 15 years, I got 16 pieces of law approved by the Assembly, approved by the Senate, assigned by the governor as a law. So there are 16 pieces of legislation in the state of New York that say Diaz law. No, I mean, they want a fighting. They want somebody that really stand, that don't take no for an answer, that is not subject to what the mayors want to do and what the people want to do, and just man. I'm the guy.
So what do you say to your critics who say, listen, he's been up in Albany, he's just tired of going to Albany, he wants to now just have a short commute.
I just told you. I cannot allow those projects that we have fought in Albany to come to Albany and then have somebody controlled by the mayor to say no or to destroy everything.
So you feel like you're adequate enough to speak up to the mayor?
Anybody that knows me knows. I don't work under pressure. I don't work. What I believe, what I do, I work for the community. I create jobs. I create housing. I do the abrazo for every community. 500 people from every community, free. Who does that? Abrazo for the Afro-American community, or exclusive for the 500 African. Not one penny from the government. When they say, no, it's not public fund, private fund. Abrazo for the Afro-American, abrazo for the Dominican, abrazo for the Puerto Rican, abrazo for the Garifuna, abrazo for the Bangladesh community. Hey, I'm fighting. I'm sorry fighting that I'm bragging, but I'm a fighter. This is a record, a track record that you could go and see it. It's not that, oh, I want to do. And you want to do? No. Don't vote for me for what I'm going to do. Vote for me for what I have done.
We're going to end it right there. Senator Ruben Diaz Sr., thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you, Daron.
Good to have you.
Good to have you. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this. Welcome back. Joining us now is the candidate for the 18th City Council District seat, Amanda Farias, and we thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me here. I'm excited.
Excited, huh? A few more days left. How's it going so far?
It's going really, really well. We have great momentum in the campaign right now, and we're just trying to keep that going and push through until September 12th.
When you look at the district as a whole, what do you see as some of the major things that you need to do?
District 18 has a lot of different things that we need to focus on, and what's exciting about me being a candidate right now and having previously worked at City Council, I have the know-how to kind of tackle those issues. Primarily, one of my larger things that I'm focusing on is transportation. We are a transportation desert in District 18, and we're supposed to be receiving a ferry line next year, so that's really exciting, but right now we don't have a setup of the supportive infrastructure to implement that in order for it to actually benefit the residents. So things that I would like to do is working with DOT to put select bus service lines on my local lines right now that will leave you walking distance to the subway ferry, as well as putting use to some of the small bike lanes that we have. Getting some city bikes in the Bronx would be great, and giving folks a cheaper, different alternative to transportation.
Very important. And so you served on President Obama's campaign in 2012.
I did.
So how's that inspiration for what you're doing right now?
You know, before working on President Barack Obama's re-election campaign, I finished my master's and I was primarily trying to work internationally. But after that is what made me really realize that the same issues I was trying to tackle internationally, we just had in a different form domestically. So that's really where my public service started going into full effect, and that's how I ended up working at City Hall.
So what made you decide to run for the district seat?
You know, anytime anyone asks me that, I immediately think of my mom. I was born and raised in the district. My grandparents came from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and somehow, some way kept us within the district lines all of these years. But, you know, I was a typical kid. I was fortunate enough to go to public school, go to a private school as well. And like, for example, every summer my mom would put me in my local Kingsway Boys and Girls Club for camp, right? Those are things that as a 90s kid, you're just living. But looking back now and reflecting on my mother's perseverance, I really realized all the sacrifices she was making for me and my brothers. And those sacrifices, though 20 years ago now, looking back at it, are still sacrifices that the families in my district are facing. And that's something that I'm hoping to change with my experience and trying to give back to my community.
There is no incumbent in this particular race, but yet still you do have an experienced person in Senator Diaz. You have other candidates there. What do you say to those people who say, you know, listen, what makes the difference between Amanda and the rest of the field?
Yeah, well, some folks in this race do have some name recognition, which is great, but ultimately it really comes down to having someone that looks like the district, that knows the district's issues, and is being real. And that's what I bring to the table. I live in the district, I look like my community, I know the issues really well because I've been living them myself every single day and through my family. And I also have the experience and know-how in City Council to take all of those issues and actually tackle them with real-life policy or real-life budgetary allocations that are going to benefit them.
So when the City Council gets together, obviously you don't just represent your district, but you represent the city as well. Talk to me about how do you feel about some of the things that are going on in the city. What could you do to benefit the city with taking the seat? Yeah,
so, you know, I had a huge hand in some of the citywide issues. Primarily, I was the director of the Women's Caucus of City Council, and that really gave me the citywide point of view. I was really excited and happy to work with the 15 female elected officials, and at the time was 15, and as we know, it's going down. But that's where I was really able to use my solution-based mind. I was really able to look at citywide issues and tackle them with legislation. So one example of that are 3 women's health pieces of legislation that I put up, I co-wrote, and are actually local laws right now. And that's benefiting women citywide, women and families citywide, and young women's health concerns.
How's it feel having your own legislation passed?
It's kind of surreal, but it's great. I mean, I've always looked to figure out how my efforts can actually be concrete. And I think policy and legislation, like mandating local law, is the one way that you can create long-term change for any community. So I'm hoping to bring that to District 18.
So as you're walking District 18, obviously you're meeting a lot of people talking and hearing the lay of the land. What are you hearing from voters in that area?
They are so excited to see fresh, new leadership coming into District 18. Primarily, they're really excited to see a young Latina coming to their door asking for their vote and their support. And they really love that I can tell them on the spot how their issue can be solved. Being that I worked with residents in the past and being that intergov person between the community and the city agency, there's times that I'm solving problems right at the moment. So it's really exciting.
Housing is always a big issue. Gentrification, we've talked about. Quality of life. What are your visions for improving the quality of life in your area?
You know, District 18 is super diverse in the sense of both NYCHA and homeowners and condo owners and renters, right? So primarily what I'm really excited about is continuing support in tenant protections against harassment, as well as making sure that my community is educated on the right to counsel. Those are things and ways that we as elected officials can protect our residents and make sure that we're here for generations to come in the Bronx.
Big concern across New York is jobs. What do we do in terms of improving jobs, and what can you recommend in terms of making things more accessible? Because some people feel like they don't have enough opportunity.
Opportunity is the key word, honestly. That's something that I have as a staple in my platform. Where we need to start, or at least where I believe we need to start, is really hitting the youth right as they're leaving college. I think we put too much emphasis on going to college, and to me that just means incurring debt. And when you come to a low-income community that already has socioeconomic difficulties, we need to be able to produce different opportunities and different pipelines for them. And my community also has a decent population of previously incarcerated individuals. So what I would like to bring and implement are college fairs, vocational training, pre-apprenticeship programs, really giving that access to the community so that they have the know-how to create a pipeline to career, well-paying jobs with benefits, and, you know, have a fulfilling life in the district.
I want to see that. Well, listen, people are asking right now, hey, Amanda, why should I vote for her? You tell them why.
Because I'm the only candidate in this race that's genuinely here for my community. You know, I was someone that was working in the background, very happy working in the background, getting things done in the only capacity I knew how. But coming home and looking at my community and seeing that those things that I was doing in a different area are not being done at home is the main reason why I'm here. So for me, getting the support of my community residents is about having someone from the community implementing those policies and that budgetary allocation and the know-how of getting things done for us.
Amanda Farias, our City Council District 18 candidate, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Good to have you here.
Thanks.
All right, listen, we want to thank you for joining us. Listen, we'll be back with more. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this. we're back. Joining us now is Elvin Garcia, candidate for the 18th City Council District. And Elvin, good to have you.
Happy to be here.
So talk to us about this here. 18th District obviously is you're very passionate about it. You want to see some things happen. First of all, why are you deciding to run?
Sure. I'm a lifelong resident of this community. I grew up here. I'm a public school kid. Come from a working class household. This is an open primary. The current council member is term limited, and after serving 4 years in City Hall at the highest level of government, where we've seen some accomplishments already in reducing crime and safer streets, in public safety, in transportation, at the forefront of that, I realized there was more to be done. And here's an opportunity now to serve the only neighborhood I've ever called home. Having already served at the highest level of city government, I felt like I had the qualifications with the right set of values to represent my neighbors.
And for viewers, you worked in the de Blasio administration?
Yes, I was the Bronx director for the mayor, essentially the mayor's Bronx ambassador on all of the major policy initiatives, universal pre-K, Division 0, reducing the speed limit, public safety issues, emergency issues, interagency issues, whether it was a snowstorm or some of the fatal fires that we've had. We're out there to put out fires, to work with stakeholders, city, state, federal, all the elected officials, really being that conduit in City Hall.
And so when we look at this particular district, District 18, obviously, what do you see as the primary thing that you need to attack if elected in the 18th Council District?
Sure, there are sort of three top issues, just from my experiences growing up here and talking to voters now as a candidate that have come up. Public safety, education, and I would say transportation are the top three. Crime is down overall in the city and even across the Bronx. I mean, the Bronx overall crime rate is lower than Boston, Massachusetts, and Philadelphia and other major cities in the country, which is great. But here in the district, one shooting is still one too many, so there's a lot more to do. I want to invest in modern technology like ShotSpotter, which is basically GPS for shootings to identify where shootings are taking place to help cops put those perps away in prison. I also want to work on education. We've seen graduation rates grow up. We've seen the expansion of universal pre-K. Now 3K is coming for 3-year-olds. I've already had experience helping both daycare providers going into that market and obviously families enrolling their child. We got to do more for early childhood, and we got to continue to build to make investments for higher graduation rates. And lastly, transportation. Thanks to the Speaker of the Assembly and the state budget, we now have the expansion of Metro North along the East Tremont North border of the district, which is going to connect us to Westchester up in the north, Manhattan in the south, and then thanks to Mayor de Blasio, we have the first in the Bronx ferry in 100 years at the end of Soundview Avenue at the southern tip, connecting folks to Manhattan. So huge transportation options coming into the district the next few years. That's really going to revitalize the community. And
when we talk about District 18, obviously a lot to consider taking the district for what it is. When we talk about education, obviously a lot of people are concerned, overcrowded classrooms, graduation rates. You talked to me a little bit about saying that there's some things that you want to do even in helping principals.
Sure, I mean, just from my own experience working in the mayor's office and even prior, principals have a very critically important job, and they wear many hats. They're the super managers of our schools, right? I want to know what they need, whether it's changing the administrative code for more resources, right? Whether it's more staffing, giving them more flexibility to run the schools the way that they feel is best, because every school is a reflection of the neighborhood. And there are working class communities in District 18 that have specific needs, and principals are sometimes the schools are sometimes the first line of defense helping out with a child's overall development within the educational system. So I want to work closely with schools. I've been endorsed by Councilmember Daniel Drum, who's the chair of education. He's someone that I will look to as a mentor to continue the reforms that we've already seen. I'm a proud graduate of Aviation High School. Career technical education, vocational schooling has been phased out over the years. I think we need to bring it back to ensure that every kid succeeds regardless of whether they're college bound. And if they are college bound, a career technical education only makes that college readiness even stronger, right? That resume for college admission even stronger, having already a certification in nursing or mechanic or basic coding will make it even stronger for our young people to get enrolled into college.
And when you talk about transportation, what are some things that you want to see happen in the world of transportation?
Sure. So we have the 6th line along this district, right? But south of the Bruckner, it's sort of a transportation desert. And so you do have residential areas and public housing developments where folks have to take a bus, sometimes two, to get to to the 6th train. Thanks to the mayor's expansion of ferry service, which already recently announced is doing quite well across the city, we're now going to have the first in the Bronx ferry terminal at the end of Soundview Avenue at that park there. We're going to build a pier. It's going to launch next summer. It's going to connect folks along the East River towards 96th Street, 68th Street, and 34th Street. These are for folks looking for work, for folks looking for an alternative means to get around. As you know, this is the summer of hell with regards to the MTA. So this is going to be huge for the economic vitality of the community and for them to get access to jobs. We also have the expansion of the Metro North along East Tremont on the northern side. That's going to connect folks with jobs, whether it's in Westchester County or Manhattan. So that's going to really bring a lot of energy into the district. As a council member, I want to make sure as these modes of transportation are being implemented, that we're asking for more resources in terms of mobile MetroCard machines alongside the ferry for the bus routes leading to that point, right? More opportunities for local hire and some of the construction opportunities for both the ferry and for the expansion of the Metro North Station.
As you're walking the streets, what are you hearing from people?
Sure, people are excited about the race. Elections are about the future. I'm a candidate that represents that. I think folks are ready for change in this community. A lot of people are talking to me about gentrification. They're talking to me about public safety. Folks in NYCHA, as it pertains to senior centers, are talking to me about gaps in resources, whether it's a senior lunch program, whether it's security cameras. There are 5 NYCHA campuses across District 18. Some have more investments in infrastructure and security and programming than others. I want to sort of even the playing field along those lines. But people are excited about the race. Yeah.
So if you got 30 seconds to give a message to voters, what would you tell them?
Sure, I would tell them that elections are about the future, and I'm a 21st century candidate. I'm a son of an immigrant, English second language learner, born in Brooklyn, raised in the Bronx my entire life. What's more New York than that? I'm the only candidate that's worked at the highest level of city government within the executive branch with every major commissioner and every policy issue. I'm a career technical education graduate. That's what's going to make sure that our kids succeed. So I'm the education candidate with that respect as well. I want to make sure that we close the gap on opportunity because that's the only thing that's going to lift our communities up. And I hope I can count on their support.
Elvin Garcia.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. And guess what? We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. Joining us now is the candidate for the 18th City Council District seat, William Moore, and welcome here to In the District.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. Listen, so You're running for the 18th district seat. Talk to us about your reason for why you wanted to run.
Well, I'm running for a number of reasons. There's just not one that's germane to the campaign, but there's many. One is, the job situation in my district. We have a lot of folks that are out of work that need a gainful employment, and the median income is about $34,000. And like I said many times, that's just not enough to raise a family of one, much less a family of four. So we need to raise the income level of our district because of gentrification. And when gentrification takes full effect, which it is taking right now, a lot of folks are going to be put out, and it's going to cause a rise in homelessness. So I want to stop that. I want to raise the median income from $30,000 to about $60,000 and offer young people, and not only young people, but adults, jobs paying about $30 an hour.
So when you look at the district as a whole and you see it out there, what do you identify as some of the key things that need to be done for your district?
Well, in Parkchester, they got a dilapidated subway system. The residents are complaining about that. We have seniors that are on crutches, on wheelchairs, that can't even make it to their doctor's appointment. Folks that work in the district cannot even make it to work on time because the escalator service is horrendous. There's talks about having an elevator put into the station to make the commute easy for the commuters. But again, that transportation is an issue. Also, the bus line is an issue in the district. I propose having probably a dollar van service similar to what's in Brooklyn, and bring that service to the industries, to the district, so we can open up an industry for entrepreneurship that can provide this type of service in the district as well.
As you're walking the district, what are you hearing from people?
Well, one thing is that people are concerned about not only the crime issues and the gentrification issues and stuff like that, but the rising costs of ownership, property ownership in the district. People don't have the means to really purchase properties and get themselves together in terms of putting together a platform for this district.
So, as a candidate, I see that you've often referred to yourself as the unbought candidate. And there are several candidates that are in this race. But when you look at yourself, and we know that there is no incumbent, but we do know that Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. actually held the seat once before. What do you feel distinguishes you from him in terms of being that unbought candidate?
Well, I have always been running against the Democratic organization because I feel that they're inept and they're not really putting forth a platform that's going to be beneficial to the community. And I ran in 2013. I'm the only candidate that pretty much have ran for this district, except for Ruben Diaz. He ran in 2002, I believe it was. But he only ran for a mere, he ran and won for a period of about 2 months. Then he ran for the 32nd senatorial seat. The community wants consistency. Reverend Diaz is basically running for this position so that he can get his pension fulfilled in 2 more years, and then he's going to basically hold the position as a placeholder so he can pass it off in a special election to someone else. I'm against all that. My candidacy is about the people. I'm a candidate for all the people, and at the same time, I'm the first African-American that ran for this position in over 50 years. We have never had an African-American candidate like myself to run for this position, and it's about time we do.
Now, you spoke of yourself and Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr., so I have to ask a question. Recently, he was at a campaign event. You grabbed the microphone at an event of his. Looking back, what happened there, and do you regret it?
No, it's not about a regret. Here's the thing. I was invited to the event. I had invitations. I went with my campaign manager, and upon getting there, we saw people that we knew, and we did some hugs and kisses and so forth. And upon entering the facility, Reverend Diaz staff, Salamanca staff, Louis Sepulveda staff, Assemblyman Louis Sepulveda, started to attack us, saying that we didn't belong here. And I'm like, what's going on here? This is America. So they constantly kept on making these little, what we thought was vile threats, empty threats. And they threatened that they was going to call the police on us. And I said to my campaign manager, I said, no, they're not going to really do that, because this is supposed to be an event for the community. It's called the Abrazo Dominicano, which means embrace the Dominican people. I have Latino ancestry in my blood, and I'm African American. So there's no reason why I felt that he was going to come to us and basically kick us out and call the 49th precinct on us, which he did. So basically what I did is that when the police started to approach me, I backed up, had my hands up, Black Lives Matter movement, had my hands up and said, what's going on? They couldn't give me a concrete answer why they was approaching me, but they kept on pursuing me. So that's when I turned around and I approached Senator Diaz and I asked him, Senator, what did I do? Senator, what did I do? And he said nothing. Upon him saying nothing, everything should have stopped. The cops should have stopped pursuing me, which they did not. So I said, the only thing I can do, because I was afraid of them committing bodily harm to myself and to my campaign manager. So what I did was I had to grab the mic so I can get the attention of the people and explain to them what was going on. Upon doing so, that's when Ruben Diaz signaled to the DJ to cut the mic, because he didn't want me to explain and to expose his guilty hands in this whole encounter. It was unfortunate because the black community, right? The black community has no type of history of basically putting out anybody who's Hispanic, Bengali, Garifuna, or anything, Dominican. We don't have that type of history. So I don't understand why he basically approached us in such a manner, and he's supposed to be a reverend.
Okay, so let me get to the other questions that we've got that part cleared up. Let me ask you this question about seeing the future of your district. In the future of your district, if elected, what are your main priorities?
Well, one of the things I want to do, the district needs a fully functioning and fully funded community center to service the needs of the community. We have about 80 different ethnic groups in our district that have virtually little to do. What we do to enjoy ourselves is that if we don't do a block party or go to the park, there's really nothing to do. So we need to really anchor the economic stability of our community, and I want to create a multicultural center that's going to tap into the off-Broadway and on-Broadway performances and bring world-class acts to the district. We have 80 different ethnic groups, different Bengali, African-American. Why don't we put together some type of performance? Instead of going downtown to anchor the economic stability of Lower Manhattan, we need to anchor the economic stability in our district, and that's where I stand for. I'm for economic empowerment and for the people in our district to have gainful employment and jobs.
So as people are listening to you right now, why would they vote for William Moore from your perspective?
Because I am a fighter, okay? Like you said earlier, I'm unbossed. And the powers that be are not going to push me around. They're not going to basically co-opt me to basically do something against the people. This community has been suffering far too long. Okay, I visited another community in Long Island called Westbury, Old Westbury, right? And they had you can look it up online. They have a community center called Yes We Can, fully funded, put together with the cooperation of the community, and it's state of the arts, environmentally friendly. All these different things. Ruben Diaz Sr. has been in office over 20 years. His son has been in office going on 14 years, even though he's not supposed to run again. He's still running. All these different politicians have been in office, but yet the people are still starving. You got to ask yourself why. Why?
William Moore, candidate for the 18th district. Thank you so much for coming and sharing
No
with
problem.
us. Good to have you.
Okay.
All right, stay here. Oh, no, don't go anywhere. Stay right there. Yep. We're going to keep him right there. We're going to say, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back with more right after this. He'll stay in his seat, and so will I. We'll be right back. And thank you for joining us for this show. Now, for more information on this election and more, continue to follow us at BronxNet TV. Now, for more information on voting locations, you can visit vote.nyc.ny.us. And remember, most of all, head out to the polls on September the 12th to make your voice heard. I'm Darren Jaime. Thank you for watching In the District.
there are several things that make the Bronx the Bronx. First of all, it is the only borough of the city of New York that is attached to the mainland. And as a result, of course, it means that the people of the Bronx are the only true Americans in New York City. But the Bronx has many advantages. One of the advantages, of course, are the people. We have people living in the Bronx who's from every single continent on the face of the earth, and they all get along. The Bronx has 14 colleges and universities, which makes the Bronx the borough of universities. It also has 25% of its landmass as parkland, which is the largest percentage of any of the boroughs of the city of New York, and therefore the Bronx is also the borough of parks. The Bronx is the place where two of the founding fathers of this country came from. Lewis Morris, who signed the Declaration of Independence, and Gouverneur Morris, his half-brother, who was one of the principal framers of the Constitution of the United States. And they are both buried in the Bronx at St. Anne's Episcopal Church on St. Anne's Avenue on 140th Street. The Bronx is the place where you have the Bronx Zoo, where the bison was saved from extinction. Just north of it is the New York Botanical Garden, where puffed rice and puffed wheat were created. The Bronx is the place where salsa music flourished in the 1950s and 60s, with a number of nightclubs and performance spaces, and a number of the great salsa musicians came from the Bronx. The Bronx is also the place where hip-hop began in 1973 at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, and of course that has spread throughout the entire world. The Bronx is a place where you have many people who had become major authors. We can go as far back as the 19th century with Edgar Allan Poe, and his home is still in the Bronx and is open to the public. Talking about creative arts, there are many people who are actors who have been given awards both for Broadway and Hollywood. We can go to Anne Bancroft and Tony Curtis and to Red Buttons, and we can also go to other actors who are on their way like S.A. Morales. But we could also take a look at the people who create the screenplays and the plays themselves. For instance, Clifford Odets, one of the major American playwrights, comes from the Bronx. Of course, nobody can really tell you what is going to happen in the future, but I think everything that has happened in the past has laid a good foundation for the future.
From the north to the south to the west to the east, we are expanding our services and upgrading technology at Lehman College. And now, Bronxites have an innovative media production facility in the East Bronx at Mercy College in the Hutch Metro Center. The windows on the East Bronx studio, a state-of-the-art control room, media labs for production and training, and other media-capable spaces. Training, workforce development, leading-edge technology, and programs that help you share your ideas, your voice, on your channels, locally and globally. Build media and technology skills at BronxNet and build your dreams.
Well, I got this as a paid internship. Spending my time here, I really enjoyed the people that work here. I enjoy what goes on behind the scenes.
So far, I've learned how to operate a camera, how to host. I learned how to control audio.
My first time hosting was really nerve-wracking, but I really enjoyed it because it was a new experience.
Charlie's Bar and Kitchen is a new American restaurant in the South Bronx. We have a seasonal menu, fresh ingredients that change over the seasons depending on what's available. We try and get to local farmers markets as much as we can. Keep the food as fresh as possible. The building is a beautiful historic piano factory. It is a landmark building. I think there's a sense of that when you feel and walk into the space. It has a very warm, cozy kind of environment, candlelit, intimate mood, and the exposed bricks and the wall. The fact that it's an old, charming landmark building from the late 1800s, I think adds to our character. So anybody who comes into the restaurant normally doesn't notice immediately why the place is called Charlie's. And so the theme of the place being Charlie's, no apostrophe, Charlie's plural, is more than one Charlie. So it becomes blatantly obvious towards the end when you're faced against this mural up against the wall of all these Charlies. But it's all about famous Charlies. So, yeah, Charlie's Bar and Kitchen, I mean, the name itself, bar and kitchen. So we started off the idea that we were prominently a bar. But some people do see us now more as a kitchen. They come here more to dine. It's a new American restaurant with slightly southern influences. Because of the seasonal menu, we get to change up the ingredients, which gives us the ability to change up the menu. As a location, I think we've captured a good kind of audience, a local audience, a Bronx audience who now looking for something a little different, come over to come see us.
Welcome everybody, we are open. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee from 107.5 WBLS. You can catch me on there each and every night right after the Quiet Storm. You can catch me right here on Open, 10 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. Let's just call it on the 10s and then just keep it tuned. And we got you covered like a blanket, okay? I'm out in the community and we're all over the place because we are now open.